Dear Mrs. Newkirk, as I'm sure was your intent, I have been made aware of your will. You fail to say, however, what you would do with your anus. I might suggest that you have it stretched and used as the threshold for your front door at PETA. That would provide visitors and clients an accurate portrayal of what they might find inside. Dear Ingrid, with all of the innocent children being exploited, aborted, and abused, with all of the people starving in this world, why don't you pull your head out of your ass and fight for a real cause rather than if a cat gets caught in a fan belt? Dear Ingrid, ha ha, you dick-eating carpet munchers, go fuck yourself. You assholes really are demented. All of you belong in a cage with all of your four-legged buddies. You are truly fucking tasteless. I wish you all meeting up with a Jeffrey Dahmer so he can rid the world of scumbags like you.
Understand, Ms. Newkirk. I mean, I think your intentions are good, but I don't know if you're persuading anybody. You see, you're just teeing people off. You're making people think that you guys are all a bunch of nuts.
They do all sorts of things to say, look at me, look at my agenda, without recognizing how many people they offend.
Shame on you!
The PETA organization is a very strange, disturbed group of people.
If they had their way, they would put medical progress at a standstill.
Ingrid, you've been quoted as saying that a rat is a pig, is a dog, is a boy.
In feelings, in the things that are important. They feel fear, they feel loneliness, they struggle to live.
You're asserting there's no difference between a human being and a farm animal. And I'm sorry, you lost me and you lost millions of Americans at that point.
In the wild, they die slowly, in pain, as much as any turkey in a turkey farm.
They're like concentration camps for animals.
How far out to lunch are you people?
These people, of course, place animals above human beings. I think it's a very dangerous movement. They're involved in terrorism. If they only wanted to wear their plastic shoes, eat their bean sprouts, I wouldn't have a problem with them. But they want to make use of the government to impose these crackpot ideas on the rest of us. I think it's a very dangerous movement.
Our goal is total animal liberation, and the day when everyone believes that animals are not ours to eat, not ours to wear, not ours to experiment, and not ours for entertainment or any other exploitive purpose.
I would like to be kind, but it makes for a very difficult life if you follow everything they say.
Not a world I'd like to live in.
For my whole adult life, I felt absolutely driven to try to convince people to consider animals, no matter what they're doing, whether they're buying something to eat or wear, or they've got a dog in their house. They need to think of what that animal is going through, to put that animal in the equation. It matters to me. I don't know why. I didn't choose it. It might be just purely that I can imagine myself going through exactly what they're going through, and I want to stop it. There has been an undeclared war on animals since the beginning of time because they're vulnerable, because you can pick on them, because they can't arm themselves, because they don't know that you're coming. You know, they can't cry surrender. They haven't attacked us, they haven't done anything. And yet we continue to attack them, we continue to round them up, imprison them, strip them of everything, and slaughter them. For what?
The reason we started PETA was to fight against what we believe is the enslavement of animals. I really believe that animals have been enslaved by humans and are treated just like slaves.
Alex Pacheco and I were sort of like Jack Sprat and his wife. I knew about animal experimentation because I had inspected laboratories, and I knew about cruelty to animals cases. He knew about the Japanese going out and killing whales. He knew about fox hunts, those sorts of things. And he was a vegan. I wasn't, and he teased me about that. We pooled our knowledge and formed PETA in my little 2-room apartment. And we used to wrap our feet in blankets to keep warm while we were typing things in winter, make our homemade placards, go out into the street. And we had our very first demonstration at a Washington, D.C. live chicken slaughterhouse. People could not believe anyone was defending chickens. The first investigation we did was in Silver Spring. Alex went undercover into the Institute for Behavioral Research.
This is one of the Silver Spring monkeys, a photograph I took when I was working inside the laboratory. And this just shows them every 4 months they were put in this immobilizing device where they're totally immobilized. And then it was my job to inflict pain on them.
Earlier this month, police removed monkeys from the Institute of Behavioral Studies where they were being used in experiments on the central nervous system. Police testified that the animals were living in filth and had untreated wounds. The documenting photographs were taken by members of an animal welfare group named PETA.
Every single researcher in the world within a week knew about PETA. It really shook up the entire biomedical industry. It got onto the front pages, it got into Congress, it went all the way to the Supreme Court twice. It really saturated the country like no other cruelty case has ever done.
Animal rights groups have been around since the 19th century, but PETA came in as a group of shock troops and said, okay, hey, we need a new level of intensity.
Once we did the laboratory investigation, it just caught on like wildfire.
A group of demonstrators has taken up the cause of animal welfare in an NIH office, risking arrest to make their point.
It ended peacefully but emotionally as about 65 members of a group called People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals left the building they'd been occupying and declared victory.
They were young, energetic people who were edgy and wanted their own brand of animal activism.
Animal rights activists took their protest inside the LA Convention Center. They picketed General Motors, the only car company, they say, that still uses animals in its crash tests.
General Motors is crash testing animals! General Motors is crash testing animals!
General Motors announced today it would no longer use animals in crash tests.
People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals is claiming a victory against Maybelline.
The world's largest cosmetics company, L'Oreal, has agreed to stop testing its cosmetics on animals.
Tonight, McDonald's bows to pressure from the Norfolk-based animal rights group PETA.
I just know on an anecdotal level, I think just the word PETA. You know, I mean, I think if you said it 20 years ago, people thought of bread. And now they think of something else.
You know, when you ask yourself, is PETA doing any good? One way to gauge, to rely on this thing that I always believed in, is that you can gauge a man by his enemies. If you were to go and ask every butcher, every guy who's killing animals all day long, mutilating animals all day long, if you were to ask every one of those, which animal group do you hate the most? Of all the animal groups in the world, every single butcher would say, I hate PETA.
PETA is an organization primarily funded by and consisting of well-intentioned individuals who care about animals, who naively think that if they give money to the organization PETA, to the leadership of PETA, they will actually end up helping animals. That is quite different than the leadership of PETA, which in my opinion and in my experience is less interested in helping animals than they are in completely eliminating any association that humans have with animals. And so basically, no medical research, no agriculture, no farms, no rodeos, no circuses, no captive breeding programs, nothing with animals. No wildlife management, no pet ownership, no horseback riding. They exist because Ingrid Newkirk is very good at marketing. They're very good at communicating to people, there's bad out there. Give us money and we'll stop it.
I just wanted to show you a couple minutes from our latest investigation. We just got out of there a few weeks ago. But it's an exotic animal dealer in Oklahoma who claims to rescue, typical story, claims to rescue big cats and primates and whatever, and is actually breeding them.
Oh, God.
He's taking the butt of a gun here and hitting these tigers.
Hope he doesn't have an accident with that. Do we have more than this? Because you know he's going to say, oh, that was an isolated incident.
We have more.
Oh, good.
We have more.
Thank goodness.
Yep.
I am deeply worried because we keep doing these investigations into exotics. And there's it's all worthwhile, it's all wonderful, and we need to close down every scumbag exotic facility there is. But the one thing that everybody needs to get involved in is empathy with animals they eat, and don't think twice about, who are every bit in as much trouble, actually much, much more, than these bears and these tigers and so on. You know, Thanksgiving and the mass slaughter of turkeys is going to happen again, and nobody's going to think twice about it. It'll just be us on the streets again. We absolutely need an investigation inside a turkey slaughterhouse.
I know.
Or a turkey factory farm. People have never been asked to bridge that gap. They've been allowed to get away with bad behavior because the broad picture isn't painted for them that all animals feel, not just the cute ones with the big eyes, not the fluffy bears and the smiley dolphins, but all the animals.
Are we also going to have a typical campaign? I mean, are we going to produce materials and
If you
such?
get your mail in, we'll have the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
There comes a time when we decide there is a laboratory or there is a slaughterhouse where we must get inside and use it as an example. Our investigator will go into one of these facilities if they can obtain employment and start documenting, which means getting the video camera evidence, getting evidence with still photography, making copious notes. The investigator will try to find places where they should be so that they can record conversations, opportunities to see things that the public doesn't know is going on. Investigations are so important because nobody believes. Nobody believes what you're saying. You can't just have words, you have to have pictures, you have to have video. You have to take them inside these places. No one is going to go behind the scenes. Who would want to go into these ugly places? It's much better for people to carry on with their habits if they never see the blood and the guts and the horror and the fear. We learned early on the image of the abuse. The image is the most powerful tool that we have.
Who in the building knows what you're doing?
Dan and Ben, and that's all. So.
Okay. I've been talking to Bruce about you for quite a while, and I know you're really valued down in the campaigns department. But we've got a big investigation planned. It's the ConAgra slaughterhouse, and they provide Butterball with turkeys. When you do your application, they're going to ask you for references. Who do we have for that?
I can put my father's carpet company that I worked at some years ago.
Okay, so it's all the truth.
Right, all the truth.
Yeah, with the exception that you worked for PETA.
Yeah.
When you have the camera situated where you want it, you're going to want it to not move, no matter how much driving or walking or actual work you do. It might be very vigorous, physical work day, and we want that camera not to move.
In this case, we'll be looking for violations of the state cruelty to animals statute and also for violations of the Poultry Inspection Act.
You know that cliche, a picture's worth 1,000 words? A video of what happens to animals is worth a library of words. I mean, you can have a library of books about how horrible it is for animals in slaughterhouses and animals in laboratories, but nobody's going to read those books.
When I was working in the lab, of course I was working with rats and mice.